The Detroit Lions are now in first place in the NFC North after what wind up being an absolute boring game down to the conclusion of the game as the Philadelphia Eagles knock off the Green Bay Packers. Finally, somebody beat them and knocked them off their horse of that stupid tie. And with the win today, the Philadelphia Eagles moved to 7-2 and drop the Green Bay Packers to 5-3-1. Finally allowing the Detroit Lions to take advantage of that tie and finally get the advantage over the Green Bay Packers. Now, someone in the comment section told me that the Detroit Lions were in first place in the NFC North in weeks 4 and 5. I was unaware of that because I thought that the Detroit Lions have been trailing the Green Bay Packers since the jump. They were pretty much always behind them when the Packers started at 2-0 if I am not mistaken. So let me know in the comment section below, am I off there, or is this the first time that the Detroit Lions have led the NFC North? But let's take a look at the standings so far for the NFC. With a win today, the Eagles leapfrog and now are in first place in the NFC. They will be the Detroit Lions opponents in just 6 days on Sunday Night Football, a game I am kind of on the fence about going. I've been hearing some horror stories coming out of the airport. I'm thinking about driving. I'm even thinking about driving there and driving right back as long as I get some sleep. They got a 99% chance to make the playoffs. So that means already that next week's game could be for first place. If the Detroit Lions were to win and the Seahawks in number 2 were to lose to the Arizona Cardinals, which I think they mollywopped them yesterday, so this has not changed yet. But if they were to lose next week, we'll take a look at next week's schedule. The Detroit Lions could have a real chance to be in first place, have the first seed through 11 weeks in the National Football League. You can see here, the Lions went up from the 6th spot. They actually were the 6th spot, and they jumped up to, because the Bears were the 7th spot. The Detroit Lions jumped up. This must be from last week and not yesterday, but the Lions were 6. They jumped all the way up to 3, now leading the division. Now, I will say this. 3 is not a bad spot to be in. Last time we were the 3rd seed, we went all the way to the NFC Championship game, so I wouldn't be mad if that was to happen. I'm not really tripping. A first seed would be great. We can get a real feel for how the first seed would be with the healthy-ish team and for the NFC to come through Ford Field. So we got a lot more games to go before that happens. The Buccaneers are now in 4th place. So now the Rams are number 5. They've been 5. The Bears replaced the Lions, and now the Packers drop from where they were to number 7. And that is where we stand right now. Outside looking in, the 49ers, the Panthers, the Vikings. I think pretty much that this is the playoff picture, the 7 teams that you see, with the exception of right now, the NFC North has 3 teams in it. I think that either the North or the West is going to get 3 teams. They both cannot have 3 teams. Only one can. So I think one of these divisions will have 3 teams in it. But the Detroit Lions right now are leading the NFC North with and actually the Green Bay Packers with that tie have now fallen to the 3rd seed in the NFC North. They let the Bears be better than them. That is hilarious. I think the Detroit Lions are really going to it's going to be a dogfight on Thanksgiving, man. All right, so let's take a look at what do we need to happen next week. Obviously, we need the Detroit Lions to win that game in Lincoln Financial. So Thursday Night Football does not matter to us at all. You got the Washington Commanders and the Dolphins. That doesn't matter. Panthers, Falcons, that doesn't matter. Bills, Buccaneers, I mean, that doesn't matter either, because even if the Buccaneers were to win that game and go to 7-3 and the Detroit Lions move to 7-3, we own the tiebreaker, so that game really doesn't matter. I mean, they all do, but you know what I'm saying. The Chargers and Jaguars, that doesn't bother us. The Vikings and Bears, this would be a good time for the Vikings to kind of come up and get a win, but we own the tiebreaker over the Bears as of right now, but we don't have it. We have a better record against the Minnesota Vikings. So this is one of them win-win situations. The Packers and Giants. I tell you what, after a team fires its coach, sometimes that team comes out and plays some really good football. And this is at in the Giants location. So I could see the Packers losing 2 in a row. They could potentially drop 3 in a row if that team comes out and plays for their interim coach. We see it a lot. We actually saw it with when Matt Patricia was fired and Darrell Bevell was the offensive coordinator. He became the interim coach. The Detroit Lions won that first game, and ironically, it was against the Chicago Bears. It was a Romeo Okwara strip sack fumble that wind up sealing that game. Then we wind up going to the Bengals Steelers. That game doesn't involve us. Texans Titans, that doesn't. 49ers Cardinals, this is a NFC West matchup. So the Cardinals could play them really good. And divisional matchups are always pretty good. So this could be good as well. Rams Seahawks, this is huge. This is huge, man, because the winner of this game is going to be the NFC West leader. And then they're probably going to take over that number 2 spot at that point. So the Eagles. So is there a chance that the Detroit, let's look and finish and see what the rest. Okay, we got the Eagles and Lions. This game is going to be big. Cowboys, Raiders, teams on bye. Okay, so let's go and look. Is there a way for the Detroit Lions to come out with the first seed, have the number 1 seed going into week 11? All right. Well, of course, we've got to beat the Eagles. We would move to 7-3. They would drop to 7-3. We would own the tiebreaker, so we would jump them. So that would be the first seed there. Then you have the Rams. The Buccaneers won't matter because we own the tiebreaker. Here's the game that you have to watch. The Rams and the Seahawks. Now, what I need to know is, have the Rams and Seahawks already played each other? If the Rams and Seahawks have already played each other, then let's see. Then we would need the team that won to win again. We would need them to sweep that particular team. So let's look, since our old quarterback, let's look at Matthew Stafford and let's see what the schedule is looking like. Have they played the Seahawks already? And I know it's week 11 heading into, or 10 heading into week 11, but tomorrow is when the playoff machine for ESPN comes out. So it's never too early to start doing this stuff. It's never too early to be talking about seeding. All right, let's take a look. This is the Rams schedule, and let's see if they've already played the Seahawks. Have they played the Seahawks already? They have not. So they played them in week 11, and then they turn around and played them in week 16. So I'm not sure of who would need to beat whom in order for the Lions to get the first seed, but there is a way, depending on tiebreakers, for the Lions to get the first seed. With a Eagles, they would need a victory over the Philadelphia Eagles. One of these teams, I don't know which helps the Lions between the Seahawks and Rams, but worst case scenario, if with a Detroit Lion win in Lincoln Financial on Sunday, the Lions would be no worse than the number 2 seed, because what would happen is the Philadelphia Eagles would drop below the Lions because of the tiebreaker, and then the winner of the Rams Seahawks would be the number 1 seed. The Lions would be number 2. Then you would have the Philadelphia Eagles probably number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 4. That would move the Seahawks down to 5. Then you have the Bears and the Packers will remain at 7. So this is a big game for the Detroit Lions. The good news is that we play on Sunday night. So we will know when we go into that game where we're going to stand. Okay. Now, if we were to lose that game, a loss there would put us at 6-4. Then that would put the Packers, I think that would put the Packers back in front of us. But they also have to play again because they have already had their bye. I believe they've had their bye. I think they have. So we will see. But the Detroit Lions are now, and I want to see it. I want to see this, man, because we don't get to see this a lot. I want to see the Detroit Lions and what the standings, like I want to see how it looks, because we just haven't seen it in so long. But the Detroit Lions, shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, it was fly, Eagles fly today. And now we come in for blood next week. All right, let's look at the divisions here and go to the NFC North. And there you have it, the Detroit Lions. This is, well, yesterday, going into yesterday's game, and let me move that up a little bit. Hopefully you guys could see it. I know the banner's been blocking things. Going into yesterday, when the Vikings took on their matchup, we were the only division in the In the National Football League, I think where the teams were at least 500 or better. I think that's what the announcer said. But of course, now with the Minnesota Vikings losing, then that's going to wipe that out. But this is still probably the second best division in football. Right now, I've got to give it to the 49ers, the NFC West. That's probably the best division in football. But this would be a very, very close number 2. So let me know in the comments below, man. Are you excited? I am. The Detroit Lions, like I said, I don't remember them being in first place because we were always behind. So like the Packers beat us, so that was a loss. Then it was 2-1. Lions were 1-1. Packers were 2-0, and then we were 2-1. Then the Packers were like whatever it was. So I don't remember us being in first place at all this year in the NFC North, but it could have been. I'm not going to go back and look, but you guys can let me know in the comments below. Somebody said it was week 4 and 5, and ironically, it always amazes me. Like I told y'all earlier, I'm 46, and now the trolls are like not even going to bother me. It's funny because it always amazes me when a person that's never commented before, and then they drop one comment and it's to correct something I said, and you were wrong, you lied. Like, come on, man. You got something. It must be something better to do with your time. But I am excited about this. I will say one thing before we wrap this video up. Jaelan Phillips made an immediate impact today. An immediate impact. I'm actually going to I'm going to see if I can bring in this tweet that I saw from Jordan Phillips about the impact that Jaelan Phillips had made. Brad Holmes, listen, we're going to ride out the rest of the season. And you guys can lap it up. You can slap it up for Mohammed, and you can slap it up for, what's his name? Ahmed Hassanin. You can do all that stuff, man. But the fact of the matter is, you got to have somebody when it counts to move the needle. This game was a 7-10 game, and Jaelan Phillips was on he was a one-man wrecking crew today. So this is coming from Jordan Schultz's Twitter account. Says the Eagles couldn't have scripted a better debut for Jaelan Phillips. Just a massive difference maker on defense. I got to say it 3 times so it'll stick in your head. That caused a fumble to close out the game, recovered a fumble, played the run, which the Detroit Lions love, had 6 total tackles. A monster, and I could agree. My only hope is that somehow, some way, if the deal is right, which it probably won't be, that we can snag somebody like this in free agency, because Brad Holmes has 2 early picks, a first rounder and a second rounder. He's not traded away his first rounder. So now we've got I told y'all, we got 4 people under contract, 4 on the defensive line for next year. 4 people. And even if he wasn't one of them, we were in a win-win situation. We could have traded for this guy, right? When he walks in free agency, we get a comp pick. So they gave up a 3rd for him. We probably could have got a 3rd back because he probably signed a legit deal. But again, that's not my problem. That's Brad's problem. Right now, I'm looking forward to the next 7 weeks, 8 to 7 weeks. I'm looking forward to deciding whether or not I'm going to go to Philly. I've been hearing some stuff come out of the airport, and I'm like, Derek, you could go. And like I said, Green Bay was 7.5 hours. Driving to Philly is 8.5. They're almost identical in miles. Green Bay was like 586, somewhere around there. And this is almost the same thing. And I'm like, Derek, worst case scenario, hop in the whip, go down there, enjoy Sunday Night Football. It's over. Hop back in the whip. You'll be home at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, look, people drive from the UP. They do it all the time, man, 7 hours. So we shall see how this thing is going to go. But let me know, what did you think of the debut for Jaelan Phillips for the Philadelphia Eagles? Is this somebody you would have liked Brad Holmes to sign? Of course I would have. And how do you feel, man, about the Detroit Lions being right now leaders of the NFC North? And they got a real possibility, depending on what happened in week, depending on what happens in week 11. I didn't even peep who the Packers play. But in week 11, if the Packers lose, then the Detroit Lions could still be, nope, yeah. If we lost and the Packers, nope, we would need to win, because if the Bears have a better record than us, then they take over. So we need to win, period. Eagles did us a solid today. We got to do our thing next week. I hope And I think today showed you that Dan Campbell needs to call the play calls because their front four, they're monsters, man. But our offense is ridiculous, and we don't need a stagnant offense against this team. Not with that front four, not at all. But that back end can be had, bro. So we got to get Jameson Williams. This will be the perfect breakout game for Tesla. We got to get this thing rolling, man. Anyway, this channel is made possible by viewers, subscribers, and members just like you. It's because of your support I get to do what I do. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. I am thinking about doing games like if I don't go to Philly, maybe we'll do games that have some direct impact on the Detroit Lions. We usually do that on bye weeks, or we'll do that on the way to the playoffs. But I am putting more effort into this channel because I am trying to, this offseason is going to be real big for this channel and this brand as a whole. All right. So let me know your thoughts on that. Not streaming all the time, not streaming every week, but a time where the Detroit Lions either have played or don't play that week. If it directly impacts not like some random game, but if it directly impacts the Detroit Lions seeding wise, then maybe I'll stream it on this channel. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.